Hey everybody, welcome back. The motivation for this week's episode is the old saying, I believe it might even be a Chinese proverb, but it's the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, or something similar to that. Let's get into round 40 of the tactical transition tips. This time the topic is think big, but start small. And for the close range group, those of you looking at your transition, maybe you're right in the middle of it, or you're less than a year out, set small achievable goals. And for the medium range group, those of you who've got at least 5 years before your transition, set that 5-year plan, but focus on today. And for the long range group, those of you just starting your career, you've got a lot of time ahead of you. Launch a small project.
When you transition out, is try to model all of the good things, the discipline, the structure, that little bit of rigidity into your everyday life. And I think that that's a great way to make that transition happen, man.
Take the time to invest in yourself because it means everything. You know, that's what the difference is. The difference is not just to collect a check. It's to live 25 years, 30, 40 years after you retire and pay it forward that way.
Close range group, you've got to set small, achievable goals. Transitioning is a mountain. It's Mount Everest. It's the biggest mountain you could think of. But just like the people who climb Everest, or at least the majority of them, I haven't climbed it, but I'm assuming, it doesn't have to be done in one day. Your transition is not one event. It's a series of small events that are going to lead into your transition. Break your transition into small bite-sized chunks. It's easier for you to keep moving forward when all you've got to focus on is that next bite, is that next step, as opposed to thinking about the entire pizza that you got to eat. The one thing that you'll hear me say a lot is as you're approaching your transition, your anxiety level is going to increase. There is going to be a lot of unknown, even if you're well planned and prepared for it. By setting small goals and hitting those markers, you reduce your anxiety because not everything's coming as one giant wave. We've all had situations. We've all seen others in situations where the task, the event, whatever was occurring was too big for them. They looked at it as their Mount Everest at that moment. And instead of attacking the problem, they froze because they got overwhelmed because they looked at the entire mountain. Don't address your transition this same way. Everything doesn't have to be tackled at one time. There are some things that you might be able to push off till the very end, or at least later in the process. Something that immediately comes to mind might be getting your wardrobe for your interviews. You don't necessarily need them today if your transition is a year from now. If you're right in the middle of it, yes, your bites that you got to take are going to be bigger bites and they're going to need to be more rapid, but you can still break everything off into smaller chunks. When you look at your transition and you look at that board, it's not, don't think that, oh man, I got to do the entire puzzle right now. Just a small piece. Put that piece in the puzzle and then move to the next piece. What that's going to do is it's going to build your momentum. Instead of looking at the entire puzzle and kind of feeling that need to go, oh man, and step back to think about it, to regroup, whatever. Don't think about it as that one big thing, one small piece at a time. Get that momentum going and get that momentum building and move on one step at a time. When you get to your actual transition, you're moving into that next career, you're starting that next job, have that momentum already in place and simply carry that through your transition into what you're going to be doing next. You need to prioritize what needs to get done. If it's as simple as, I don't even have a resume written, make that your highest priority. Or maybe your resume is written, but it just needs to be cleaned up. Again, make that your priority. If you haven't reached out to some of your good contacts in that next job that you want, maybe you haven't spoken to them in a while. Maybe that becomes your priority today is, let me get back in touch with those people. Be genuine when you reach out to them. Let them know, hey, I'm getting close to my transition. How's the job market? What's changing? I don't know. I'm hoping that have this network in place and you're in routine contact with them, but maybe you haven't. Hey, can we grab a cup of coffee? I'd love to pick your brain, but again, it's those small, subtle steps as opposed to now you're trying to work on networking. If you haven't worked on networking, make that a priority, but be genuine with it. Maybe what you need to do is do a little bit more research on the job you want. Maybe you haven't really kind of looked at it for a while. You've known for the last year, maybe last 2 years, hey, that's where I want to get to, but you really haven't looked at the current conditions of that profession, that job force, that company that you want to get at. Start doing some updated research. Whatever it is, you'll know where your pieces are. Hopefully you've taken the time to already do this, but if you haven't, first make the priority, identify the plan of attack. Identify, I'm using an analogy here, but you've got that puzzle and you flipped over the box and all of the pieces are on the table. At least you've identified the pieces. Now, instead of trying to think of it as a big project, one piece at a time. Prioritize what you need to do right now. Get that done. Move on to the next one. The opposite to this, though, is as small as it might be, getting your wardrobe dialed in, cleaning up your resume, writing that cover letter, saying hello to a person who is a mentor or a network that might seem small or insignificant right now. You can't have that mentality. Everything right now is important. Treat it accordingly. Because the thing is that if you think that something is small or it's insignificant, it's going to be on top of you before you realize it. And then you're going to find out that maybe you weren't as prepared for that piece as you thought you were. So don't fall into a complacency mindset of, it's just little, I'll deal with it later. Prioritize it, deal with it now. We all know this from our careers is that when we try to rush something, that's when we make mistakes. I think about my time on the range and being a range master and trying to get people to work through a magazine change smoothly and efficiently. And the old saying is, smooth is fast. No. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, or whatever it is. I always forget the damn thing. But what I'm getting at is when you see those people who think that, I've got this and and they try to fly through a magazine exchange and it goes haywire on them. Slow it down, work through the mechanics, build that momentum. Do it slower this time, then a little bit faster, then a little bit faster. And over time, you're moving through it much more smoothly. The other thing you can think about, though, is if you leave it all till the very end, it's easy to then, when it's time to address it, to get burned out and to easily get frustrated. Like, we've all been there. We've all left those things to the end. And then when it's time to deal with them, we're cussing ourselves because I should have done this 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago, a day, whatever it was. I should have done it before. I knew I could have done it, but I didn't do it. And so save that frustration, save that headache, prioritize it and address it now. Go into your transition. Go into that next career, that next job, whatever it's going to be for you, with a positive mindset and already have that momentum of chewing off small chunks as you go. This episode is brought to you by Softfleet, a tactical fitness company founded by special operations soldiers. Soflete is dedicated to helping you achieve a healthy lifestyle. From expertly crafted training programs to high-quality proteins, pre-workouts, and sleep and recovery supplements, they've got everything you need to power through your day. Soflete also has a full line of clothing. They have you covered from shorts to cold weather gear. Embracing the motto, Die Living, Soflete inspires us all to embrace life with vigor and resilience. So take the first step towards a healthier you. Visit soflete.com. That's SOFLETE.com. And use the promo code TDP2024 to get 20% off your order. Again, that's TDP2024 for 20% off your order. You've got some time ahead of you. Create that plan 5 years out, 6 years out, whatever your transition is going to be. But don't forget to focus on today. Those goals that you're going to set, you need them. Set those goals. But at the same token, be thinking about that next step right in front of you. Not 5 years down the road, not 7 years down the road. You have that target that you're aiming for. But just like playing golf, you don't go for, let's say, for those of you who play golf, and I don't play it, but I understand the concept of the game. If your maximum drive is 100 yards, I'm just saying, and you're at a hole that is 500 yards, you're not going to hit the hole or the green in one shot. You're going to have to take little shots to get there. So the end goal is the 500-yard shot. You need to have something to be aiming for, but you're going to have to do it in small chunks. Keep that focus today. Do an honest self-evaluation. Think about, what can I do today to improve or make myself more marketable tomorrow? What's going to have the most benefit for me tomorrow? Only you know where your weaknesses are, where your potential deficiencies are that are going to be a hindrance for you to get to that next career that you want, or that job that you want, or that company that you want to work for. Once you do that honest self-evaluation, now start making a plan of how you can build on your skill set. How can you build on your experiences? How can you build on your training and your education? Maybe it means actually going to school and investing some money and taking classes that your organization may not send you to. If you can get sent to a training course, great, but also be thinking about those other classes, may even be college, that will make you more marketable or move you a little bit higher than the next candidate who might have the same level of experience and job-related training, but maybe doesn't have that advanced education component. All of those little things make you more marketable. I would say do something that's different or that you're not currently doing today. Start reading books. Listen to podcasts. Tongue-in-cheek, because I'm assuming you're already listening to them if you're listening to this one. But start doing those things that you're not doing today. Get a mentor. Find somebody who can, maybe you have two mentors. Maybe you have somebody who you currently work with in your organization, a senior leader, a coworker, but that you value their experience, how they conduct themselves, where they've taken themselves in their career. But also seek out that mentor on the outside world. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody in the career you want. It could just be somebody who can be a mentor and guide you into the civilian world, who has succeeded or excelled in the civilian world. If it is somebody from your current profession, a veteran who's transitioned out and is now working in the civilian world, a first responder who's transitioned out, even if they're not working in the job field that you want to get into, but they're successful in what they're doing, that's a great mentor. Somebody who can guide you towards your transition and beyond your transition. The most important thing you can do, though, is take this time. Once you create that plan, do an honest self-evaluation and be honest with yourself as to where your deficiencies are and work on improving those. If you think about it as, again, yes, your 500-yard golf hole that you're trying to get to, that's your end result. But if you spend the next 5 years, whatever your plan is, if you're 4 years out or maybe you're 8 years out, but you're in that mid-range kind of between your transition time, a bunch of small steps each day, each month, each year, as you progress towards your transition is going to put you much further ahead than trying to cram it all in 6 months out, a year out. Lead yourself by going into that transition feeling as prepared as you can, knowing that you've done virtually everything that was within your control and in your power to make you the best possible candidate for wherever you want to end up. With that, though, the one nice thing that comes with, and I'm going to keep going back to this golf analogy, and I have no idea why. You take that first shot. Man, I went a little left. Not only do I have to recalibrate myself and get back on target to where I want to get to for the end shot, that where the hole is 500 yards out, but on the flip side, by reevaluating after every shot, maybe you hit a good enough shot that if you want to gamble, hey, instead of going down the fairway, I think I can kind of take it to the right and go over the trees and maybe save me some distance. But you won't know that until you're doing those little evaluations. And so how this relates to you making your transition preparation, by constantly moving forward and taking little steps towards your goal, you get to reevaluate your progress, and maybe something new pops up, a new aspect to that next career, a new aspect to your job right now. You're like, oh, wait a minute. If I pause right here and make sure that I get this training, that's going to help me. So let me put in for it, get that training and move forward, as opposed to if you're not really thinking about where you want to get to, you're not doing that evaluation as you're going, and you're not able to keep adding or improving as you get closer to your final goal. When it comes to marketing yourself or selling yourself to the next employer is, hey, here's how I've led the last 5 years, the last 7 years of my life. This is where I wanted to get to. I created this plan and I made sure that I was making regular advancements towards being as prepared as possible, as opposed to, and not that you would sell yourself this way, but going into maybe subconsciously or even consciously aware that, man, I really didn't prepare for this. And you go into that interview and you're trying to wing it on what you think you've done to prepare, or really kind of stretch how you've prepared improperly. So those small little steps keep getting you closer to your end goal. But then when it comes time to get your next job, it's definitely something that you can market yourself, that your next employer is going to want to see in you and want to see how you can bring that skill set, that ability, that mindset to their company. At the end of the day, though, the most important thing you can think of is you've got a small window before your transition. Get to that transition as best prepared as you can. Do not put it off until the last minute and then have a bunch of gaps in you when you make that transition. Long range group. Launch a small passion project. Find something today that you thoroughly enjoy doing. Something that at nothing else just makes you feel good. Maybe it's playing a musical instrument or learning a musical instrument. Training other people to do what you do, not necessarily even related to your job. Maybe you're an advanced diver, or maybe you've got some other skill set that you already are proficient at. Maybe you find enjoyment in teaching others to do that. Maybe it's volunteering within your community, with your church, with local sports organizations, whatever it is, something that you are passionate about, start doing that today. The primary goal for doing this is it's something different than what we go to work and do every single day of our career. You want that ability to turn yourself off or go to the other side of your fence, something that allows you to take that step back from what we do on a daily. You're looking for, I'm thinking of like the old school balance scales. You're looking to be balanced. Work is definitely going to be weighing you down the most. These jobs are very demanding. I get that. What you want to do is find the stuff that's away from work that balances that scale, that balances you. Right now, you're doing it for your emotional health, your internal ability to stay as close to the person that you were when you started these careers. However, you have no idea, by really immersing yourself in whatever that is that truly drives you, that you're truly passionate about, where that could lead to. But don't get focused on trying to identify something now that has to make you money. Right now, focus on that thing that just makes you, I'll say, whole. Something that allows you to be a person again and keeps allowing you to just be a normal, regular person like anybody else who doesn't do these careers. Find that thing. Well, find something that doesn't make you feel like it's work. The last thing you want to do is sit down and pick something, but then once you're into it, you're like, man, this is just like going to work. I don't enjoy this. Once you figure out what it is, and it's truly something that drives you and that you're passionate about, commit to it. Stay consistent with it. Don't let it be something that you do once this week, but then you might not do it again for 6 months. It's got to be something that you love doing, that at no matter what, if somebody said, if you could do anything you want, it's kind of like that thing that's at the top of your list. Maybe it's surfing. You would just always want to go do this. Man, if I had an hour, I would go do X, Y, Z. Once you define that, and that it's not something that you have to struggle to go do, you are truly driven to go do it, make it a routine, a consistent habit in your life. Don't deviate from it. Make sure you block out that time each week to allow you to do whatever that is. If that means working with your family so that you can block out the time, make them understand how important it is for the total you. Think of it like you're planting the garden today. You're literally tilling the soil, sticking the seed in the ground, and you're starting to water it. Don't think that the fruit's going to come tomorrow. The fruit's coming down the road. But right now, you have to put the time, effort, and energy to growing it properly. Now, once you're into it for a while, and it's something that you're starting to really build in yourself, maybe you inadvertently start building a community around it, a group of other people surfing. Maybe you start bringing other people from work into it. Maybe it's mountain bike riding. Maybe it's playing a guitar, whatever it is, writing a blog. You'd be surprised how many people have simply turned the passion of writing about topics that they're truly interested in, that down the road, without even intending to, it's turned into a moneymaker. Because the thing is if you're genuine and you're passionate about what you want to do, other people are going to find you. You build that community. And then before you know it, though it may not be starting today as a money-making venture, you never know where it's going to grow to. You never know how tomorrow it might be something that gives back to you financially. Because I would hope that whatever you're choosing to do today is going to give back to you emotionally. It's going to fill that inside portion of you. But if it's something that you're truly passionate about, if it's something that you truly put the effort into, it may grow to something that when you come to your transition, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road, maybe it's something that's created its own life, so to speak. And it is something that you could monetize. It is something that could bring you financial benefit while still feeding your inside. But you won't know until you try it today. Just start doing it. Launch it. If 6 months, a year from now, it's not something that you're really passionate about, you're committing the time, you're staying consistent with it, but it's really not feeding you, reevaluate. Find something else that really feeds you. But do that. Like I said, if someone came to you and said, you have an hour free time right now, you can do anything you want. What's that thing you want to do? Go do that. So in closing, short range group, you need to start with small achievable goals. Don't eat the entire pizza. Don't think of the entire puzzle. It's one bite, it's one piece at a time. Just take the next step in front of you, but make sure you're prioritizing those steps. Medium range group. You got to build a long-term plan. You got to build that 5-year plan, but you can't forget to focus on today. We all need a map of where we're going to get to, but built in with that road trip or into that map for that road trip, we need to have rest stops. And long range group, launch a small project. You never know what you start today, what it might benefit you or provide you in the future. It may open a lot of opportunities you're not even thinking about. As always, thank you for listening, watching, however you're getting this podcast. I truly appreciate you taking the time to stop by. Please help it grow by sharing it with anybody that you think might benefit from it. Follow if you're not already following it. Leave a comment. I would love to know what you would like to see me continue doing or to change or improve upon. And until the next one, go conquer the world, but just focus on the next step in front of you.